happy to be here. Today we're talking about my favorite subject to talk about. Guess what it is? Guess what my favorite subject to talk about is? Let's see if you're surprised. My favorite subject to talk about is bookkeeping. So today, and today only, until next week at the same time, we're going to talk about bookkeeping. I'm going to share this so I don't forget to share it. But here's what the questions I always get. What is bookkeeping? What's the difference between bookkeeping and accounting? Who does that part for me? You know what I mean? Those kind of questions are the ones that I always get. So I am going, hey, why didn't this put my title on here? I need to edit this. Edit, whatever. I'm going to share it first and then I'll edit it. I'm going to share it to the Wealth Dynamics group because that's where it needs to go so you all can watch it. The bottom, oh look, I have 2 viewers. Hi guys. I mean, you just got here, so thank you. The bottom line live. I know we're an hour early this week. So thank you all for being here anyways, even though we're early. All right, let me go back over here. Okay, so now I am taking questions tonight only. Just kidding, I always take questions. But if you have any specific questions about what is bookkeeping, you know, feel free to ask. Also, too, I run out of ideas sometimes, you know, of what to talk about for half an hour. So if you guys have any subjects that you would like me to talk about on bookkeeping, payroll, no more 1099 questions for at least a few months, but anything else, I will talk about it and I will answer all your questions. Okay, so what is bookkeeping? A very, very simple definition of bookkeeping is it's recording every transaction that occurred. It's keeping the actual history of your company, you know, and that's why you'll see that there's a difference between accounting and bookkeeping. Bookkeeping will take every single transaction as it happened and record it. So now, you know, sometimes you'll see if you have books, like if you have a company and you have books, sometimes you'll see your accountant will put in a bunch of adjustments at the end of the year for tax purposes, things like that. That's accounting. When you're going into doing things, you know, for making adjustments, doing things for tax purposes, LLC versus S Corp and the advantages. Wes, I did that one already. I'm going to send you that video, but I'm sure I'll do it again a few times. Okay, so when you see at the end of the year your accountant throwing in, you know, adjustments and doing all these things just for your taxes, that's accounting. And I even have to remind my bookkeepers of this sometimes. Like, no, what we're doing is we are recording what happened, regardless of whether it was supposed to happen or not, right? Like maybe the business owner used their business account for a personal transaction. They didn't have the right debit card on them at the time, something like that. Oh, thanks, Nano. There you go. There's that video. So, wow, it's even called that. The difference between LLC and S Corp. There you go. It does talk about the advantages too. But let's say that the business owner did something that they weren't even supposed to. They used their, you know, business account for a personal transaction. So we still have to record it. We still have to show where the money came and went from, right? So we're going to show it. We're going to show it as, you know, in that particular case, it's going to be an owner's distribution. Let's say the business owner had a personal check. Their grandmother sent them a birthday present of $1,000 because they have a really cool grandma, and they deposited it into their business account on accident. We still have to record it. We're going to show that it was an owner's investment. It was personal income, basically, so that way it doesn't get taxed. So think about that. That's the purpose of bookkeeping, or not the purpose, rather. That's the function of bookkeeping, to record what happened. Sometimes people at the end of the year go through the 3-day headache of figuring out, you know, what their deductions are last minute and get an Excel spreadsheet over to their CPA that's got their deductions listed. Okay, that's not bookkeeping, right? That's putting together a list of your deductions for taxes. But bookkeeping is going through every single transaction, every piece of, every time you got paid, every time you paid something out, and labeling it, saying what it's for. This was office expenses. This was a bank fee, this was a marketing fee, like all these different things so that you can get reports out of it. And those go to your accountant or your tax preparer to file taxes. So what do those reports look like? And I'm going to probably do another webinar where I'm going to also have, do a presentation to show you guys different reports. But the first report that you want to look at for bookkeeping is called profit and loss. So your profit and loss report is very self-explanatory, but just so you have, I'll explain it a little bit. But on the top, the first thing it records is all the income. So all the income is going to show up right at the top. Then the next thing that it's going to record is any cost of goods. Cost of goods are, again, what it sounds like. Or if you have a service-based business, it would be cost of service. But what does it cost you to deliver that product, that service? Not your office expenses and all that. But let's say you're a marketing company and you pay Facebook for your client in order for them to do, advertising for your client. That's going to be a cost of goods for you. That's a cost of service. You're not going to be able to get your product, your sale, your deliver what you are selling without paying that money. Or let's say you subcontract out designing a new promotion for a client, not for your business, but for a client because that's what you sell. That's cost of goods. So now, after that, it shows you your gross profit. So after what it took you to deliver your product, what do you have left? Good. Then after that, all of your expenses, your office supplies, your internal marketing, everything else. And now at the bottom, you've got your net profit. So this report, which I will go into more detail on at another time, gives you the story of your company. It tells you for that time period that you're running it for, how much money did you make, how much money did you spend on things that you had to spend for to get your product for your business, right? To, deliver whatever your deliverable is, and how much money did it cost you as far as, the rest could also be called overhead or your nut or whatever you want to call it, but that is your expenses, right? And what is your profit at the very bottom? So that's one of the first things that bookkeeping will tell you. And this is very important because, Jerry and I have talked about this before, but what does a business owner need to look at? They need to look at their profit and loss. It tells them everything. It tells them how much they made. You can run it for a week, a day, a month, a year. So what did you make? And what did it cost you to make that much money? And then what was your profit? If you don't know that, I told a story last week that I had a business owner reached out to me who said, I pay payroll, I do all these things, and I have no idea if I have enough money to hire somebody else. I always pay the payroll, but I've never done bookkeeping in 7 years. I don't even know how I'm still in business, or maybe I said that. I don't know how you're still in business. But to be nice, she figured it out, but she never knew when she hired someone if that was going to be profitable for her or not, or if she even had enough money to pay their salary. So imagine not being able to make those decisions for your business. Do you have enough money to pay? Do you have enough money to hire another person? Are you at a point where you can hire another person? Are you at a point where you can hire your first contractor? Can you invest in new software? How do you know if you don't look at your numbers? So that's the first thing that bookkeeping gives you. The next thing is going to be a balance sheet. A balance sheet is going to show you balances, right? So what do you actually have in your bank account? How much do you actually owe on that, car loan for your business or whatever? How much do you owe on your credit card? Like, what's the balance? Not what you spent in that time period, but what's the balance? It also has some other accounts on there. And again, you have to realize that this is the balance. This isn't what you spent in a certain time period. So there's an account called, that I've talked about called owner's distribution or owner's investment. So that's going to show you what you have taken out of your company or put into your company since the beginning of time, generally, unless your accountant makes an entry to, you know, zero it out and start over, which sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So some people go, I didn't take out $500,000 out of my company this year, and it's like, no, you didn't. You took out $500,000 out of your company since you started the company in 1998. So just so you guys know the difference, the balance sheet only shows balances, and the profit and loss shows profit and loss for a certain time period, not forever, just for whatever time period you're running it for. So that's going to be your basic bookkeeping, right? There's also lots of other things that have to do with bookkeeping that, you know, based on each bookkeeper is going to tell you whether they do that service or not. Like payroll, which we've talked about payroll a lot. Thanks, Marie. Thanks for joining us. I'd love to have you on here. I think, Marie, you're one of the people that told me I need to start doing these videos. So here I am. Okay, so payroll, that we've talked a lot about payroll. Are you doing your payroll in-house? Do you have a bookkeeper do it for you? Sometimes even your accountant will do it. So just so you guys know, you're not wrong. There is some overlap, and it's not your fault. Sometimes accountants will do bookkeeping functions. Sometimes bookkeepers will do some accounting functions. It happens. But to make it very simple, you know, bookkeeping is bookkeeping. I'm so excited that Marie is a PR person. She's the person that first helped me with my PR and branding years and years ago. And now she's watching, you know, my webinar that I'm doing, that, you know, I have this successful company and I'm doing webinars and training people. So she's happy for me that I took her advice and I'm doing it. Okay. So payroll can get complicated. If you only have like one employee, or even if it's just you, you can keep it pretty simple. But to be fair to everyone who has ever said this to me, payroll can get complicated. There's state taxes, there are county taxes, there are federal taxes, there's Social Security tax, and you have to know, oh, Marie's still a fan of me. Thank you, Marie. And you have to know what all these percentages are and where they go, and even just to register it, right? You have to go to all these different state websites, the county websites, the blah, 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 blah. It is a little bit complicated. You can do it on your own. I'm not going to say you can't if you want to do it on your own, but it is a little bit complicated. So it's good to find a bookkeeper to do it for you, you know, either me or my company. You know, I have a payroll specialist, Celeste. A lot of you have spoken to her. She's pretty badass. There's other bookkeepers that will do it. There are even companies that all they do is payroll, because payroll is honestly that complicated, where you can have a company that just does payroll. So there's, you know, different ways you can go on that. And if you are an S Corp, or if you're an LLC taxed as an S Corp, you already know this because you've heard me say it, you have to be on payroll as a business owner. Okay, what other things are there? Sales tax. Sales tax would usually fall under a bookkeeper. Sales tax basically is another tax. Yay, government. I take my pom-poms out because we're so excited about that. It's another tax, this time on what you sell for your company. So, you know, I mostly do bookkeeping for service-based industries, but even they sometimes sell products as well. Let's say, you know, you have a yoga studio. They're basically a service company, but they also sell yoga mats and some shirts and stuff like that. Or, you know, let's say I have a client that's a chiropractor. It's a service-based company, but they also sell nutritional products, and so there's sales tax on that. So now you can, again, go and figure this out yourself. If you've, you know, have enough persistence and tenacity and a dictionary, and, you know, you can figure this stuff out yourself. I had to figure it all out at one point or another, and every state is different and every website is different. So, you know, I will never say that you can't do it on your own, because you are capable and you absolutely can. But it's a little bit complicated. You have to register, then you have to figure out government-ese and figure out what they're actually asking you for. You know, usually they ask you, you go to the website, they to file sales tax, they're asking you for your total revenue. Then they're asking you for your total taxable revenue, which is only going to be on the products that you sold, not your services. And then they're going to ask you for how much sales tax you withheld, and then they want that money, right? So that's another thing that a bookkeeper can help you with, or you can do it on your own. Sometimes accountants and CPAs do it, often they don't. You know, so there's things like that. There's more of them that I can think of. When you have payroll, you'll get letters from all the different states. Like these days, you have employers who have employees in a bunch of different states. So you have to know the laws for each different state. Some states have rules, and this is your responsibility to know it, because if anything were to ever happen in a court of law, it's going to be your responsibility to know the laws, and not, you know, your bookkeeper, your in-house bookkeeper, whatever. You're the one that's ultimately the buck stops here, right? So keep that in mind. But having a good bookkeeper will be able to direct you. There's states where, for instance, sick pay is mandatory. There's a lot of states where it's not mandatory. There's states where you have to pay overtime. California, for instance, you have to pay overtime anything over 8 hours in a day. Also anything over 40 hours in a week. Whereas in Florida, overtime is only anything over 40 hours in a week. So if you did 4 10s, right, like 4 days of 10, that's not overtime, where in California it would be, right? So there's like lots of different things to know, which you can do yourself, especially if you only have employees in one state, you know, but there's a lot to know. So that's something bookkeepers can do. What else on here? Okay, so tax prep, that's something that people ask me about all the time. Do bookkeepers do tax prep? Now, there is overlap. Tax prep is more accounting, as far as like actually filing your taxes, right? But there's going to be bookkeepers who do tax prep. Don't get sick. Oh, as far as employees, yeah, well, but they're entitled to 6 days off in certain states. So I don't know. I don't recommend this, but I feel like if people just are gotten 6 days that they can take off paid, I don't know, why wouldn't they take it? Hopefully they don't if they're not sick, but they're entitled to 6 days off paid in certain states. Okay, now I got distracted, Nana. What was I talking about? Bookkeeping. Tax prep. Okay, tax prep. So there are bookkeepers who do tax prep, but most of the time accountants do tax prep, or tax preparers do tax prep. We use TaxHive mostly, although like I've said before, you know, if you only have a W-2 or if you want someone local, you know, we have recommendations for some local CPAs and tax preparers as well. So there's that. But most of the time, bookkeepers don't do tax prep. So they'll do all these things. They'll get your books ready, and then you give your books, meaning your like reports, right? At the end of the year, you're going to give your P&L. You're going to give your balance sheet, and anything else that the CPA or tax preparer asks you for to the CPA, to the taxpayer, and they're going to file the taxes. But then all they have to do is 1 to 3 hours of entering all your data and sending your tax forms into the IRS and potentially state, rather than having to figure out what actually happened. That's the bookkeeper, right? There's some entries. You know, let's say you have assets that need to be depreciated, meaning you split the value of them over a certain amount of years. Usually the CPA or tax preparer will do that. Sometimes the bookkeeper will do it, and sometimes they ask. So there are certain things that kind of like, you know, who does that? My company, we only do up to what the accountant does. So if the CPA asks us to do depreciation or asks us to record, you know, end of year entries, we will ask them, give us the entries that you want, and we'll enter them in. Because as far as what bookkeeping is, that's not recording what actually happened. That's like another tax adjustment. That doesn't have to do with actual bookkeeping, but there's a little bit of overlap, like I said. Okay, we have a question from Sean, or a statement. Alaska had anything over 8 hours and anything over 40 hours as well, and in Florida I've learned that they don't have to pay overtime unless 40 hours, unless they deem feasible. Yeah, basically every state is different. So you have to either hire someone who's willing to do the research, because unless you hire a company that just does payroll, any bookkeeper you hire is going to have to do some research. But like I have a database that I can use to search all of these laws, and I can type in Texas overtime rules and I get the answers from my database, because, and I can also Google, right, if I need more answers. But it's, I would, if it were up to me, I would recommend hiring a bookkeeper, because it's a lot of things back and forth. And like I said, I'm never going to say you can't do it yourself, because you are smart and you are capable. But why would you want to? Because it's annoying and complicated. Okay, Nano says, best option is teach your people to be in exchange so the company can remain in business. A bit of harsh truth is there's no free lunch in the universe. There needs to be exchange in order to have paid sick days. I agree with you, Nano. That's why I have my company in Florida and not in California. But there are states, even if I'm located in Florida, I can't hire people located in California. Or I can, but if I do, I have to pay them by California laws. So keep that in mind if you are a company that hires people remotely. Keep in mind that there are rules for each state, so which state you hire someone in makes a difference. So like I don't hire people in California because I don't want to deal with California taxes. But I recently learned that a state that I did hire people in has new laws that makes them annoying that I didn't know they had, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So, so I agree with you, Nano, but you also have to follow the law. So that is what it is. Best option working in California, leave. Yeah, we've talked about that too. I even said that too. I did a consultation today and I said, they're in California, and I said, I love California. It's beautiful, has amazing views. I love driving down, you know, the PCH, up the PCH, whatever you want to call it. I have family in California, but I don't like the taxes there, so I don't work there. Good. What other things are, is it bookkeeping or is it taxes? Or is it something else? Okay, so there's other things that a bookkeeper can do for you depending on the bookkeeper. Like we're a full service bookkeeping firm, so we'll do lots of things. You know, we are a concierge bookkeeping firm, a boutique bookkeeping firm with concierge service. So we do, for instance, bill pay. There's a lot of companies that don't do bill pay. We will actually pay your contractors and pay your bills if that's, you know, what you're contracting us to do. So you don't have to worry about that. Well, basically what we'll do is we'll do, this is for our full service clients. So we'll do their bookkeeping every week. We'll give them, you know, kind of a budget of here's what you made, here's the bills you have coming up, approved, disapproved, approved, they reply approved, and then we pay their bills for them. We use a service inside of QuickBooks called Melio for that. We also do accounts receivable. So if you're a company that has like a real high volume accounts receivable, we might not be the right fit for you because we're going to go in probably once a week or maybe a couple times a week. But we can send out invoices to clients who owe you money. Or for instance, like we're not a collections agency, but for instance, I have one client who has his customers on a recurring subscription. But every once in a while a credit card declines. So if a credit card declines, that's when it goes to us and we'll reach out. They also get automatic emails through that service, but we'll reach out, call them, you know, see if we can get the new credit card number for them, that kind of thing. So really full service. And that's not something that every bookkeeper does because sometimes they just stick with, you know, recording history. But because we're full service, we're a boutique firm, we are, you know, we really help the businesses, we do all that. Okay, let's look at some questions. Nano says, when should someone come talk to you? At what point in their business? Okay, so first of all, someone should come talk to me regardless of what point in their business they're at, because I can always help them, whether I do a consultation with them, you know, give them the blueprint that I'm still writing up. It's still in my head, Nano, but it's going to get there. You know, Sean, I just did a consultation with. So even if you're just starting out, no matter where you're at, I can help you. I can tell you, here's how to get you organized. Like even, you know, here's what software you should use. Here's how you sign up for it. Here's what you need to keep track of. Here's what type of bank accounts you should have, things like that, right? So I can help you from there. When should you start paying someone for bookkeeping? It depends on your individual needs. Like if you have a lot of profit from your company and you know, you can afford someone as soon as you can afford them, whether that's at $60,000, $70,000 annual revenue, whatever that is for you. definitely if you're like around 100,000 annual revenue and it's time for you to do your S Corp election for your LLC, you should definitely come see a bookkeeper. Even if we just go through and do your bookkeeping quarterly, something like that, you should start if you, or even if we just do a consultation and set you up with, what's that software we're using that I can't think of right now that comes with the Mint Builder? Blank. Okay, there's like a simple bookkeeping software, we can help you with. If you're at 250,000 and you don't have a bookkeeper, run. You needed a bookkeeper 150,000 ago, so you need help on that. So come see me at any level. I can help you and direct you. When we start taking your books for bookkeeping, thank you, Hurdler, Tax Hurdler, that's the one. When we start taking over your books to do your bookkeeping for you is when you can afford it in your revenue. So that can be wherever that is for you. If your personal living expenses are very high and you make 100,000 but 80,000 of it you use for your own business, your own personal expenses, like you can't afford a bookkeeper because you're spending all your money. If you have an $80,000 business but your personal expenses are a lot less because you live in a less expensive state than California, and come see me then. It's what I'm only going to sell you what is right for you. I don't try to sell people things they don't need. So, and people who have had consultations and stuff with me will know that. I will tell you, like, what's the most cost-effective way? How can we help you the most? Exactly. Thank you, Jerry, Tax Hurdler. And that comes free with your Mint Builder subscription. So if you talk to Nano about that, tell him I sent you, because eventually I'll win a free car too. Okay. So Nano says, what would they have to have in place if they are not in a position to talk to you yet, aka blueprinted bookkeeping? I'm working on it, Nano. I'm working on it in my head still, but I will get it written down. But yeah, you can always do a consultation, and I will get you organized. I am going to make the blueprint, but I'm going to have to charge for it too because it's cool like that. It's going to be worth a lot of money. So yeah, that's kind of, I hope I'm answering all the questions about what is the difference between bookkeeping and other things. Bookkeeping is an umbrella. It can have payroll in it, it can have bill paying in it, it can have sales tax in it, it can have all these things, or it can just have recording transactions, depending on what you need, what the bookkeeper delivers, and like I said, accountants do higher level things that are for taxes, adjustments that have to happen only for taxes that don't necessarily have anything to do with reality. They just have to do with the IRS. So that's kind of the difference, right? Accountants sometimes also do bookkeeping functions, and that's where it kind of gets confusing of who do I go to. But, that's planet Earth. So we do our best. That's all we can do. All right, Nano says just release 3 steps so we know. Initial steps to get in place. Yeah, make money, step number 1. Get a bank account that you only use for business. Step number 2, get bookkeeping software. Step number 3. First 3 steps released. Boom. I have to remember which ones they were. Okay, make money, open a bank account that you only use for business, and get bookkeeping software. We should make a whole article about that. Good, so hopefully I've explained to everyone what bookkeeping is, what bookkeepers can do, and what is the difference between what bookkeepers do and what tax preparers do. Some bookkeepers will even do tax preparation, so that is the way it is. And some tax preparers will do bookkeeping, but they are different functions. Bookkeeping is recording what happened in your business. It's the history of your business, transaction by transaction. I can look in someone's books and tell them exactly which months they did well, which months they did poorly, and how much it cost them to get that profit. So there you go. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And we're basically at our half an hour. So if anybody has any questions for now or topics they want me to talk about in the future, there will be a blueprint to bookkeeping. It's on my list. I've written it down in like 2 places. But other than that, feel free to reach out. Right now in the bookkeeping world, we're doing all of the annual reviews for 2021, so we can send out all of your books to the tax preparers. We have to do it now because tax preparers are already emailing us like, is this client's books ready? Is this client's books ready? But what we like to do is at the end of the year, basically in February, once we get done with 1099 insanity, we like to go through every single client's books and just go through it with a fine-tooth comb, make sure everything is perfect, really make sure the quality is in, and then send that to their CPA or tax preparer, or the client to send to their CPA or tax preparer and get that ready. So that's the evolution we're working on now, is reviewing every single client's books to make sure they're perfect. And if you need anything, like I've said, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook. You can email me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. My email is maya@solvencynow.com. My website is solvencynow.com. If you are, which most of you are, a Wealth Dynamics client, then you can even reach out to them and they'll send you a questionnaire to fill out and we'll get you started. So just want you guys to all know that. Sean says 1, make money, 2, open a business account, 3, start and use a separate bookkeeping platform for business. Yeah, that's your first 3 steps. And they're all kind of concurrent, right? Like, you want to make money, you want to have a bank account to put it into that's not your personal account, and then you want bookkeeping for it. So they all happen concurrently, those first 3 steps. But the most important one is make money, because there's nothing to be worried about. The IRS can't tax you if you don't have any money. There's no bookkeeping to do if there's no money, unless you're starting with a bunch of expenses. But make money, open that bank account, and have separate bookkeeping. Tax Hurdler comes free with a Mint Builder subscription, which I love because Mint Builder is also awesome. And you can come to us for Tax Hive if you need to get taxes done. And I do want to say, if you need bookkeeping, you need to come now, because we're at a 2-week waiting to get started right now. I had a client that's starting right now basically at the beginning of March because we're booked. So if you want to get in a fancy restaurant, you make a reservation. So come now so we can get started, so you can get your books done in time for taxes. Who will tax you? They will for sure tax you. Oh yeah, once you make money, Nano, but if there's no money, there's nothing for the IRS to tax. The only thing certain is death and taxes. So be alive so that you can pay taxes. That sounds grim, but it's true. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming to my webinar. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will see you next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, at the Bottom Line Live. Bye.